Hello people out there, my name is Paul Reyes and I'm going to show you how to simplify soldering. Soldering is not a hard job, but if you don't have a shark bite nearby to make your job even easier, you're going to have to solder parts. And for right now, we're going to go ahead and demonstrate soldering. It should take less than about a minute to 2 minutes. The first thing you need for soldering is material, of course, copper, because that's the only thing you're going to solder with is copper. You got a good torch. Torches come in different varieties. You got this is a medium flame one. You got a one that really throws out a lot of flame and one that's really thin. You want a kind of handle where your job is. The bigger the pipe is, usually you're gonna need a bigger torch to put heat onto the pipe. You got flux, you got lead-free solder, and make sure it's lead-free solder because you can't use on domestic systems. You cannot use lead in any of your solder. Same thing with the flux. The flux is a cleaning agent that they use for piping. So all that's got to be lead free. You got a rag to clean off. You got cleaning supplies as far as this is a cleaning brush, and also you got clean cloth to clean your pipes to make sure that there's no debris on your pipe and materials. And basically in the water, just for safety reasons, you can have a fire extinguisher too if you're actually getting into some wood or sulfate. Make sure you have something that you can douse your flame down with, just in case it gets a little bit hot up there. And a pair of pliers, which I'll be using. And make sure when you solder, if you're soldering on the ground like I am, make sure you have some protection on the floor. Right now I just got a piece of wood. Sometimes you can have a piece of cloth because there will be solder that will fall on there, and if it gets on a rug or something, it will damage it. So make sure you have something set down on the ground, and safety glasses, and gloves, of course. Always wear gloves because this material, this flux especially, it'll get into your skin, and sometimes it'll irritate your skin. Plus, when you're torching, it'll actually help your hands so you don't get any of the solder on your hands and touch things, hopefully. And that's about it. First thing you got to do is determine what kind of job you're going to be doing. Right now I'm prepping for a job that I will be doing in the future. So what I have is a 1/2 inch threaded end, and I'm going to have a coupler, copper, which is called CNC, copper to copper. And what I did was sand it with my sander, and inside and outside. And then you got your flux. Make sure you flux it all the time and put it together. Usually you try to dry fit everything first and then solder. Don't try to solder as you go because you'll get lost. You'll end up having to cut it off probably. So what I've done is prepped everything already. I've already sanded and put my flux in there already. And right now we're just about ready to solder. Okay, after you have cleaned all your parts and determined what you need, dry fit it, make sure everything fits right, make sure everything connects into your connectors the right way. Okay, now what you're going to do is start your flame, your torch, and make sure you have something on the ground, like I said, especially on carpet. Okay, now what you want to do is grab a pair of pliers because this thing's going to get really hot. Grab some solder in your hand and keep your torch moving on that connector. Don't keep your torch in one place, otherwise you'll create weak spots inside your copper. So just keep it kind of moving around. And like I say, if you're doing it on the walls, you got to be really careful then. And that's why I have this water here, just in case, because you got to watch the tip of that torch. The hottest part of the torch is right here at the tip. It's not here, it's out here. It's your hottest. And then what you want to do is you want to tap it once in a while. Once you start seeing that your flux start to melt, you want to tap once in a while just to make sure if it's hot enough yet. If it's not hot enough, like I said, keep it moving around. Usually you try to get the thicker part first and then go work out your smaller part. Okay, now we're going to tap it again. And see, it's starting to run. So just barely, surely, and make sure, since this is a threaded piece, that you don't get over into your threads. Put just a little bit there. Keep it going until, keep it off the torch, and keep it going until it looks like it's about ready to stop. Okay, like that. Then grab your flux brush and slowly go like that. I was told that this kind of keeps the water barrier around that solder, like if you're soldering somewhere. I don't know how much truth it is, but it keeps some of those closed places tight. So that's into that. Wipe around there, look at your solder, see if you can see anything holes or nothing. And if you don't see nothing, you're okay. Now we're going to go on to another one right here. This is the elbow part. The elbow part, like I said, grab your solder, and what you're going to do is grab your pliers, and you're just going to keep going around here. You're going to kind of keep the flame like in the center, because you're going to want to heat up both sides of this thing. Like I said, keep that flame moving. Don't stop in one place, because you'll end up weakening it. Make sure that you also don't have any water in your pipe if you're doing existing piping, because you can't solder if there's water in your pipelines. So if you've got drip, coming on, stick a piece of bread back here, and that way it'll stop that water for a time being until you get a solder done with it, or a piece of rag. It'll work too, but you gotta make sure you don't have any water. Okay, now we're gonna tap it, make sure, see when it's ready. Yep, it's ready. So put a little bit more heat, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna solder both sides. Get off torch and do one side at a time until you get good enough where you can go like this and then solder at the same time. Because if you don't do that, what'll happen generally, you'll get that solder inside your torch end, and then you'll be able to, you won't be able to solder for a while. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is go like that, and just watch how that stuff starts to slow down. See how it's starting to slow down there? And that should be a good solder there. Okay, like that. And then when it stops taking, then go over here and you shut your torch off like that. Put some flux on it. Like I said, I don't know how much truth it is to take care of it. But the main thing is make sure there's no water flowing in these lines, because if there's any kind of water, you can't solder. Take your rag, clean around it. I should have done that on the other one, but I didn't. I forgot all about it. You can actually not even worry about ragging it. I usually take my gloves and go like that to them. If I'm working out in the field. Wet it down. And what I'm going to do, you can duck this in water too. You know, I don't have a bucket of water. We're out here in the cold, so I didn't want to bring a bucket of water out here, but take it, and if you can, we're going to test it out real quick here by blowing into it and make sure we don't have any leaks. If we have any leaks when we put this together, that's the worst thing that can happen, that you have a leak when you do this. Notice how I didn't get no solder inside my joints in my threads, because I didn't overrun it. You don't want to put too much solder in there that you cause the solder to go into your joints. If that happens, then it'll be hard to seal it back up. Okay, now that we got that all cooled off here, what we're going to do, we clean that off there. And like I said, I don't know, a lot of people don't like doing this, but I don't mind. When I put a part together, I want to make sure it don't leak later on. So, especially where this part's got to go, I don't want it to leak or have potential for a leak. So make sure it's cool, and it's cool to the hand. Blow through there. And if you don't, and I got my thumb on there, so make sure that all these joints in here are good. There's no air. My lungs can't expose to that's, I don't know how many pounds of pressure, but that's a good solder joints. They'll never leak on you. So this part here, I would feel confident in putting it in there as is right now. It's a good solder. Just remember, if they say no, we say Ray yes. You can do home improvements by yourself.